Welcome. We're going to start today by reading the story of Hugo. Please take out your Good Master's Sweet Ladies book, a highlighter, and a pen or pencil. I'm going to read this first story to you aloud. When reading our Good Master's Sweet Ladies monologues, it's important for you to read each monologue twice. One time for comprehension and understanding, and the second time for annotations and taking notes. So I'll read the story to you aloud, and then please pause the video and go back over it for annotations silently. Hugo, the Lord's nephew. The Feast of All Souls. I ran from my tutor, Latin and grammar, no wonder. I ran to the woods where I saw his tracks, this big, and the mud he scratched. Bottom side the trees, followed his franks straight to his bed and found it warm. There was a boar in the forest. When I went back, there was my uncle, rod in hand, but he didn't strike. I told him, "There's a boar in the forest."
"Why then, we'll go hunting. And as for you, you'll hunt like a man or be flogged like a boy. Help kill the boar and I'll give you the kidneys. Turn tail and I'll have the skin off your back." That night, I lay and dreamed of the hunt, the underbrush stirring, the snort of the boar, its foul mouth foaming, its tusks like scimitars. Those tusks can slice a man, growing to gorge, but that's not the worst. The man that dies from the wound of a boar loses his soul and burns in hell. Dawn came. We mounted. Long before noon, the dogs caught the scent and the hunt was on. 2 relays of hounds squealing most sore. The third was faint with fatigue. I could smell my sweat, rank with fear, and then it was like my dream. The underbrush moved and the sticks shattered. I saw it, bristling, dark as the devil, huge as a horse. My bowels turned to water. My uncle dismounted, and I did the same. My legs were like straw, but I walked. Mouth dry, palms wet. One hand forward on the spear, and 1 foot ahead. To fall would be death. It charged my uncle, lunged, and I behind him thrust. Felt the spear pierce, braced myself into armpit, shoved. It took a long time, and the dogs neighing and the boar struggling, blood on the grass, but I stood my ground. At last it was over, and the brute lay still. I almost wept for the joy of it and the terror. I gasped like a fish, let my head fall back. The green leaves swam in the sky. He kept his word right there in the wood. We kindled a fire and butchered the boar. The kidneys were mine, gleaming with fat. He clapped my back and called me a man. But dark of the night, I hear that sound. Sweat in my sleep, and my spear slips through my hand. I dream that I'm back in the wood with that boar. So now take a moment, and I want you to reread, do some annotations, look for any of those notice and note strategies, any figurative language, and also moments of conflict within the text. Feel free to pause the video here. So now we're going to practice our summary strategy. You have a graphic organizer. Please take that out. Somebody wanted, but, so, then. Take a moment and think about who the main character is. Who's our main character? Hugo. And what was Hugo's main goal? What did he want?
He might have wanted to kill the boar. He might have wanted to be seen as responsible or take charge by his uncle. Phrase a sentence that tells us what his goal is. But what was Hugo's problem? What was getting in the way of him accomplishing his goal? What were the obstacles? Maybe his uncle's lack of confidence in him, or his own intimidation or fear. Or perhaps it was the boar and his size, and just not knowing if the spear would actually kill the boar. Decide what the problem was. Then, what was the solution to the problem? How did Hugo overcome these obstacles and this problem? By taking confidence or having confidence in his own ability, or by working on the way that he stuck the boar. However you want to phrase that, feel free. And then, how did the story end? What was the conclusion? His uncle believed in him and gave him the kidneys. The boar died. Take a moment and just think about all of those things. Write down in each box and create a 4 to 5 sentence summary. Feel free to pause the video. So now we're going to take a moment and look at conflict. We've talked about conflict earlier this year, but I just want to give you a quick review. Internal conflict takes place inside of a character, man versus self. So when a character struggles between his feelings, his emotions, his thoughts, consciousness, or his fear. So Hugo dreaming that he was going to mess up. Hugo's intimidation within himself. That's man versus self. Man versus man, or external conflict, are the types of conflict that take place outside of the main character. So man versus man is a mental or physical struggle between two or more characters. That may be Hugo and his uncle, the conflict when he says, or you'll get flogged like a boy. Or even Hugo versus the boar. That's physical conflict. Man versus nature is another example of external conflict, a struggle between the main character and Mother Nature. Weather, insects, animals can also be included in this, and sickness. So perhaps when Hugo is going hunting and the elements outside, being able to track the boar or not being able to track the boar in and of itself could also be seen as man versus nature. And finally, we have man versus society. That's those societal concepts or laws, the structure of the society. So a struggle between a character and laws or beliefs of a group. Poverty, politics, social norms, or expectations. Hugo was expected to be this warrior, this hunter, because at that time, boys were expected to go out and hunt and feed their family. But if that's not who he was, he might have had some type of struggle with that, man versus society. So take a moment, think about the different conflicts that were found within the story, and write them in on your graphic organizer. Thank you. See you tomorrow.